The Patreon pick this week, as requested by our favorite patron, Tanner, aka Mr. PT, Mr. T, if you will, was the 2016 film Shin Godzilla. And if you also want to get your movie into the queue, you can go to guapish.com/Patreon or patreon.com/Guapish for $1 a month. Request a movie and we'll watch it just like Mr. T's got. Nico, please give us the plot synopsis.
Alright, so Shin Godzilla is a film that features Godzilla attacking Japan, but instead of watching all the fun goodness of destruction, we are watching Japanese men have little meetings and bureaucratic nonsense. Tanner, what's your fun fact?
Fun fact. Oh geez, this is a long one. Toho actively interfered in the making of this film, wanting to tone down its Japaneseness in order to get wider global appeal. They went so far as to make their own cut of the movie that the director secretly switched out in order to have his version released.
That's crazy. That's a good fun fact, though. That's
so
a good
wait,
one.
this is the Toho one, or this is the one that was supposed to be put out? Okay,
that's very
funny.
Not Jackson, Dylan. What'd you rank this one? You're the one we're the most eager to hear about.
I do want to make this a little more fun. I would like to see what you guys think I would rate this movie, just out of curiosity.
B-.
You say B- or D-?
D-.
D-, Tanner?
Dude, I really have no fucking idea. I'm gonna go, I guess I'll just be a pussy and say flat C.
Tanner is the closest. I gave this movie a C+.
There you go.
There we go.
I also gave it a C+.
There we go.
Wow. I'm surprised you weren't super into it, Jackson. I gave it a B.
I am sitting at an A-.
Yeah, unfortunately, I found the world building and the comedy of Ultraman, this is a direct comparison to Shin Ultraman. I found that one a lot more entertaining and engaging. This movie I just found really fucking boring, to be completely honest with you.
Preach!
I think some of the cool scenes with Godzilla was fun, but I just really never got invested in the story at all. There were some good moments about, and critique on Japanese bureaucracy and things. I'm sure hits a lot harder for a Japanese person dealing with these things. There were some interesting scenes, and I like the portrayal of disaster relief and Godzilla being the maker of those situations. But really, in the end, I just didn't really give a fuck at all. I just found it kind of boring and whatever.
Yeah, and just to go in ascending order here, because I think it makes the most sense this way. I agree with Jackson. I know traditionally, if you're to go with, the origins of Godzilla, it's supposed to be, the Japanese society has, messed with nature too much and, tipped the scales in one way, and so Godzilla's supposed to be, the natural...
That's not it at all, buddy.
That's what I remember. Anyway.
No, it's about the Japanese fears of nuclear weapons. That's the traditional
yeah, that's basically what I said.
No,
so
no.
Godzilla's supposed to be the physical representation of that coming back to destroy them and all that kinds of shit. Unfortunately, when Godzilla's actually on the screen, the CGI looks bad, and also it's just not interesting. The Rampage when he's fully evolved was kind of cool. And I did take some screenshots and sent it to the group. I think there are some cool shots of that in this movie. But I don't care about the politics. Even if I did, we said this in the chat, this movie was intentionally made for the Japanese society because they talk so fucking fast. Even with subtitles, that shit was rough. And it was I just didn't care about any of the stuff going on. I think it was really cool seeing how they handled scenarios and how they were stepping up to get these things figured out. But like Jackson said, it just really catch my attention. And when shit was happening, it was kind of whatever to me. I was gonna say there's some lore implications about the ending. I'm not really gonna share that until the very end, I guess. But yeah, and also it did the thing that you guys don't mind it very much. I just don't like it where it's just you get this random one person in the movie who's Japanese, but they speak English for some goddamn reason because they have to or something. I don't know.
It's fine. She was hot, so it makes up for it.
The only comparison, because Jackson did to Shin Godzilla, I'm going to make a worse comparison. This compared to 1998's Godzilla. This is a terrible... I'm going to get fucking shot and assassinated in real time here. The different, people could say, that Godzilla and this one were on screen for the same time. I just felt in that one they did more interesting things with that time. in my personal opinion. Hence why it's like a step below that one, in case anybody tries to come back and say anything about that later.
I'll say one other nitpick I have. This isn't like really that big of a thing, but it certainly did not help, and it made the movie feel very unimmersive to me. Was you see these scenes of him, fucking torching the entire city, slashing buildings in half, and then they cut to daytime the next day and everything's completely fucking fine, and that shit is just kind of stupid to me. You never actually, see the results of this, chaos and destruction, really, and a lot of these, environment shots, The destruction looks cool, it's fun seeing a big laser cut a building in half, but then they just completely, reverse all of that, obviously because I'm sure the technical requirements for the CG of that was just too much for their budget or whatever, but it just felt kind of stupid to me.
Yeah, and actually that does remind me of a criticism I had early on in the movie, where it was before he evolved. They're just like, oh, we lost him. And it took me about 15-20 minutes after the fact to realize that, oh no, we actually did see him disappear into the bay or something. But they didn't show that, and it wasn't very explicitly stated. And it also just doesn't make any contextual sense to the movie, because the only thing they were doing was monitoring his movement. So how the fuck did they lose him? He's fucking gigantic. But yeah, and I had another point. I cannot, for the life of me, remember what it is anymore.
All right, B team, go. Why'd you like this movie?
Honestly, I gotta say, I'm shocked. As the biggest fucking sub hater here, that I didn't have any problems with the subs at all. They were just fine to me. I didn't have any problem really following along with any of the dialogue going on here. I think you guys just need to fucking up your reading game perhaps a little bit. But I thought this movie was cool. As you guys stated, the CGI wasn't particularly amazing throughout decent swaths of this film. But, at times it definitely looked really fucking badass too, though. But really, the biggest draw for this film is that Godzilla, he is obviously a big part of this film, but it feels more just a more slow government sort of bureaucratic political drama where the big disaster is just a monster. Which is really cool.
Yeah, it could have been a fucking tsunami taking out Japan and them trying to work around that.
Yeah, it's a really neat idea to work with for the Godzilla IP, and honestly, it worked really well here. The characters I enjoyed quite a bit. I don't remember any of their fucking names, but that's fine. But during the parts where Godzilla was fucking rampaging through these areas, I definitely felt a good deal of tension. It's Jesus Christ, he's just decimating these poor people. Because, rather than, these big Monsterverse movies where all this sort of carnage is happening, I don't give a fuck about any of it. Here, it felt a lot more real, which I appreciated, which was super cool. And Tanner, I gotta know, dude, what did you think about this? This was a phenomenal film in your eyes.
Yeah, I thought this was a great movie. I agree with Nico. I really like how smart this movie is, and I find a lot of the themes and reflections it's making pretty interesting. I think the biggest thing I find interesting is the way in which it's kind of trying to reclaim a sense of nationalism for the Japanese people, and I just find that a really interesting way of looking at it. Specifically when America is talking about nuking Godzilla, and you have all these characters that are even though they probably rationally are yeah, I guess in sort of just a ones and zeros math way, it makes sense to try that, but they're we can't fucking let another nuke be dropped on us. We can't consent to that.
Yeah.
I think that sort of those themes of national pride and whatever, specifically in the Japanese context, since their culture has very much been how do I want it? Despiritualized, I'll say. Their culture is a very consumerist thing, and so ideas of nationalism and pride in your country and whatever, they don't strike me as major parts of their culture anymore. So I think it's interesting to see a movie kind of not only wrestling with that, but kind of explicitly saying, no, it'd be a good thing if we actually started asserting ourselves in this way.
Yeah, you see one of the old dudes breaking down when they say that they're gonna have to drop another nuke, and he's fuck, not again, no.
Yeah, exactly. And then my complaints are the same as you guys have had. It's a slow burn, which I don't mind for the vast majority of it. It only gets me in a couple places here and there. And then the CGI is a bit rough. But for the most part, none of the visuals ever take me out of the film, so that those aren't huge negatives for me, which is why I'm so high on it.
I guess...
Question for you guys.
Yeah.
Do you think Godzilla, prior to him becoming Godzilla, like the little like funny guy, is he cute? Yes or no?
No. I think that's horrifyingly disgusting.
I think he's kind of cute. I like him. He's funny.
Yeah.
I think he's a little cute, I guess.
Okay. I don't like that he just has vast amounts of blood spilling out of his gills at any given moment.
Yeah.
It's cool, dude. It's like really nightmarish. It's like this abomination of a creature that's like hard to really wrap your head around. It's kind of Lovecraftian in a way, you know? It's just fucking nightmarish.
I do want to just point out one minor thing and one little more major thing, not super major. The minor thing being one thing that I wish they just hadn't brought up at all if they weren't going to take it as seriously. They were constantly doing Geiger readings and like trying to monitor radiation, and they were like always talking about how much radiation Godzilla was releasing. We just don't really see any repercussions from that. Like, yeah, we hear them talking about it like, oh, he's releasing this much radiation to the area. There's no lasting like effects. Like, sure, they wear suits, but it doesn't pose any imminent danger to anybody, which, you know, in a reality situation, maybe it doesn't, but, like, in my opinion, like, why bring it up if it's not gonna be, like, a dangerous thing they need to play around? It's just an unnecessary additive, so that's not really such a big deal. The other thing, because I thought about it after this movie ended, and I realized that this is a less, in a way, traditional Godzilla movie, and I could understand that this movie was supposed to be reflective not necessarily on the side of Godzilla, but on the side of what is the country of Japan doing in response to Godzilla. You guys kind of touched on it a little bit, where it's just like, these are just realistic scenarios where like, we're focusing on like how this is being handled, the solutions being come up with, and like the camaraderie and the teamwork between the civilians and the workers trying to prevent this disaster from happening further. It's just not my style of movie. Like, I can appreciate it for what it is. It's just, it doesn't fit with my viewing experience, unfortunately. Which, you know, flip-flops, but at the end of the day, you know, I thought the concepts they played with were very cool. Like, at the very end there, if you guys remember, after Godzilla gets frozen, they, like, zoom in on his tail, and they show, like, little humanoid things. I remember seeing a video. I watched a couple like breakdown videos of Shin Godzilla way before, just because I figured I'd never see it, so I just went and watched some videos. There was a projected projected evolution of Godzilla that he was just gonna start sprouting off little humanoid demon Godzillas to like combat the human forces that he was, you know, contending with, because he's constantly evolving. And so it was like the video had theorized like, oh, Godzilla would have just taken over the entire world if he was just not stopped. Which again, cool concept. I like a lot of the concepts in this movie, just didn't catch me very well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed about it too, because I'm not opposed to like a slower paced political drama, but I don't know, this one just didn't really grasp me. I can't explain exactly why.
Well, I mean, you said that going into this, you're expecting it to be more goofy like Shin Ultraman was.
That certainly didn't help. My expectations were... I think also it was just like... it's hard to not just compare it to Shin Ultraman a lot, because they're very similar movies in concept and presentation. And that movie had much more of a focus on the characters, and this one certainly had, you know, characters, but it was also more of just like the Japanese government as a whole, and not necessarily like focusing on... Obviously there was like a main character, you could say the guy, and like the fucking American girl, but I don't know, it just... it kind of bums me out it didn't work on me more, I suppose.
I can agree with that. I thought the same thing when the movie ended. I was like, I really wish I could be into this movie more, and I might be completely wrong when I go to the review with this, but like I just can't. I don't know.
I liked it. I thought it was cool. I like the part where were like, all this bureaucratic nonsense, it's just taking too damn long to get anything done. We're gonna need to put together a crack team of people who just don't give a damn.
I do think it was very funny where they were just like, yeah, we need to find all these coagulants, and then we need to like come together, get all these fucking trucks in these facilities to conjure this shit together. That part was cool. I kind of liked that.
That was cool. It reminded me a lot of like Summer Wars, when the like granny was like going around like calling all these people, being like, we gotta get shit done.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see. Like I said, don't know why I didn't like it, just did for some reason.
It is what it is. I'm keeping my C+, but I could see myself maybe raising this.
I concur.
Raises it to an A+ in a couple weeks when we do our re-ranks.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? I just didn't give it enough credit, I guess. Yeah, I'm staying at my B.
I'll stick with my A-.
Sick.
And it lands at a flat B overall. How exciting.